Hey everybody, Drew Sanaki at the Nerd Marketing Podcast. Great podcast today. You get to learn why I look like Red Skull. It's a very interesting segment on vampire facials at the beginning. And then we roll into tariffs and how Mike and I have dealt with them in previous situations where we've had tariffs. And that's a bit of like 4 mindset shifts you might want to make right now. We bring our special guest on, Daan, the Daanimal, to talk about some aggregated e-commerce data we have that shows what's going on with e-com brands now year over year, month over month. You'd be surprised at some of these insights and what we're seeing. So hope you enjoy it. Nerd Marketing Podcast coming at you right now.
I suppose you guys are wondering why my face is the color of an apple.
I know you were in Florida for the last few days, so either you have been out in the sun for an inordinate amount of time, or there's something else that
there's something else going on. I will say that the Florida trip was great. I brought my daughter to Disney World for a week. 2 of us. I had my son. 2 kids, different schools, 2 different mates.
That's always convenient.
One piece of advice: never do that.
Yeah.
When I largely stayed outside, it wiped me out. I mean, I lost my voice screaming on the rides. This, if you're watching and you see what I'm talking about. If you're listening, my face is beet red. I just had a vampire facial.
What?
You guys ever heard of these things?
What is that?
I'm picturing like leeches or some sort of
Close.
old world. Yeah.
Close. Made popular by Kim Kardashian.
Oh.
We are at my brother-in-law's and my sister-in-law's house for the holiday, for Easter, right? And she is a physical therapy doctor, and she does this thing called PRP microneedling. What this is they pull your, she injects PRP in everything. This, let me tell you guys, this is like the miracle drug. They pull out your blood, they centrifuge it, they separate the plasma from the rest of the blood. The plasma, she injects in, if I have arthritis in my leg or my knee or my shoulder, they inject it right in. And what it does is sort of inflame your joint. And within 48 hours, you feel better. It's amazing.
I was heard of it for hair loss.
For hair loss, too, is another thing. They inject it into the scalp. It's called PRP, platelet replacement.
Didn't Brian Johnson do a lot of this stuff? Like,
I think he does.
All his blood out, sort of did some stuff with it.
All my blood out. It's
yeah.
So different.
Got Drew on life support over here.
But when we come here, we load up on PRP. We get all these things, and she's like, you should try these things called PRP facials. You take the PRP out, they take the plasma out, and she microneedles your face. She like literally drops your plasma onto your face and microneedles it.
Wow.
It opens up the pores, it bleeds a little bit. Your own plasma goes in, stimulates collagen production.
Interesting.
In 2 days, not today. Today it just makes me look totally red.
All right. So next time we get together in person, you're just going to look, 20 years younger in your face.
20 years, 20, 30 years younger.
Amazing.
I think I debated do we go ahead with the podcast? My wife was like, yeah, of course, just do a segment on PRP. So
next time we see you, everyone's going to be asking about your AI filter, right?
Good to talk about something fun, something different than tariffs the whole time, because that's probably the only thing people are hearing or thinking about all week.
That's a good segue.
Good, yeah.
In Disney World, let me just give you my take. Like, the recession hasn't hit Disney World yet. It was packed. I mean, most of the people bought tickets ahead of time, but as I walked around, I'm like, it's such an interesting business model. Disney can increase or decrease the price dynamically. filled, it's recession proof. Sort of, I mean, there's so much crap you buy there. And all of it, I'm like, this all has to come from China, half of which my daughter has, the
Right.
Mickey this, the ears, the whatever. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, does Disney have like inventory of this stuff? Like, how long does that last?
Totally. And we were chatting about it before, IP rights and how that's affecting the technology sector, but also, what happens if they decide you can start printing a bunch of Disney merch or sending out Disney movies for, $2 and disregard Disney's rights to all of that stuff. You guys been seeing
the TikTok videos of the guys in China with the Louis Vuitton and their Hermes bags?
Yeah, just basically undermining the entire luxury sector. Although I still think you are buying it for the label. You know that. I mean, maybe you didn't know that your Birkin bag costs, $800 and you're paying $30,000 for it. But generally, you're paying a massive premium, and the whole point of it is so that everybody else knows you paid a massive premium for it, not because you think that it's quality, it's worth $30,000 as a bag, or Prada's worth, whatever it's worth. So anyway, we could go down that rabbit hole forever, but actually that other voice that you heard, Don, Drew, I don't know if you know him. Don,
we have a guest today.
We're going to talk finance. So Don, our finance guy, wore his blue collared shirt.
It's the deal shirt.
Got to look the part. Because we are going to talk.
We're not undergoing any raise or exits right now, even though he has the deal shirt on. He runs finance here at PostPilot. Daan Harmsen.
Yeah, one thing that we do have is access to an aggregate data set with thousands and thousands of brands. So we know everybody right now is looking for some sort of guidance, some direction, some sort of baseline to understand the current state of affairs. So we brought Don in to give a bit of an overview about what we're seeing, the latest data that we're seeing across sort of the DTC data set.
Right. Don, meet the internet.
How you doing?
Don, is this your public unveiling?
I've used the internet before, and if you Google me, you're probably gonna find a few pictures. But yeah, I don't think I've ever been on the internet with you guys, so that's fun.
You ever done a podcast?
No, listen to a lot though.
Yeah, you're doing great, man.
Probably had you in my ears for like 10 years, sir.
You can't make me laugh because my face is like, it's so painful. It's like fire is on my skin.
Wow.
So
anyway, I love podcasts because it just makes you get to know it makes you feel like you know the other person really well. And then when you finally talk to them,
being in someone's ear for sure. Scott Galloway talks a lot about that. Being in someone's ear is a different, they know you differently.
I think if I were to ever meet Scott, it would feel so familiar.
Exactly. Totally. Anyway,
so let's talk about some of these trends. We've got, as Mike said, some aggregated data from thousands of e-commerce brands that are plugged into our platform. Gives us a really good look at things like revenue and growth over time. So Don, I don't know if you want to talk through some of these.
Yeah, I think the reason we started looking at this data is we kind of thought, hey, there's these tariffs that just came into place. How is this going to affect the stores that we work with? And I think the findings were a little surprising. We're seeing that consumer demand sort of across the stores that we work with is actually up quite a bit, both year over year and month over month. So on the top left there, you see the month-to-date revenue compared to March. We're seeing it's up about 12%. And then when you look at the top right graph there, we're just looking at April in a little bit more detail on a year-over-year basis. So how's April doing compared to that same day in April last year? And we're seeing sort of consistently that revenue is accelerating there. So it's not just up year-over-year, but it's accelerating through the month. And we're seeing the same when we look at it on a weekly basis at that at that bottom left graph. We're just seeing that consumer demand is up, which we kind of we were a little surprised by it. So we sense checked that data. We're like, hey, are people just increasing their prices and that's why the revenue is up? So no. We looked at the number of orders as well, and we're seeing that just order volume overall is up. So I think what we're seeing, we're not quite sure what's happening, but I think what we're seeing is some demands being pulled forward. People are worried about. Come again?
Panic buying.
Panic buying. They're worried about prices increasing. They're not sure what's going to happen. They want their stuff, so they're buying it now.
That's really interesting and sort of counterintuitive. I know we were all surprised to see this kind of lift in April versus March and April versus last year, when all we're hearing on Twitter is doom and gloom, right?
We know consumer sentiment. Oh.
I mean, in finance, we have this saying called a dead cat bounce. This is, I'm not sure if this is exactly a dead cat bounce, but I think it remains to be seen whether this continues. But right now, we're seeing a lot of this sort of panic buying, and just anecdotally, I mean, you guys have been talking to people. When I talk to people, I hear the same thing. We talked to someone the other day who was moving, and they were just like, I could spread out my furniture purchases over the next few months, but I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm just going to buy everything right now, so I can make sure the price doesn't go up.
Yeah. So I think we know consumer sentiment is generally down, and we also know that brands are going to be running through their inventory that was purchased at a certain price and that's sitting in the warehouse at a current COGS. So the big question, obviously, is, when do we see this start to hit actual demand? When do we actually start to see price increases take effect? Because we've run through the inventory that we had at our previous price point. So we're going to be monitoring that. We'll come back with some additional insights on how we're seeing prices change across our aggregate data set over time, as well as what we're seeing with demand, both on an order volume and revenue perspective, sort of week by week.
Don, any ideas whether this effect here is sort of category specific or just kind of blended across the whole data set?
I think we see it across the whole. Data set. Yep. Most of our categories show the same types of trends. Awesome. So yeah, very surprising, interesting to see. We'll see how long it lasts.
Mike, you and I ran a business through another tariff situation. That was in 2018. You and I automating aftermarket business when the Chinese tariffs on steel and aluminum. You remember this?
Yeah, I do remember this. I remember it very well, Drew. This was the aftermarket automotive parts company with millions of SKUs, hundreds of suppliers. And Drew, you know what most aftermarket automotive parts are made from?
Steel and aluminum.
Steel and aluminum. Yeah. So we got nailed. And Drew, I'm sure you remember this. This was not long after we took over the company, and this company was bleeding cash at the time.
Right.
So, we were like months into a turnaround plan for this brand. We'd gotten the staff sort of aligned behind us, hundreds of people in this company. And we were like, all right, we got to dig ourselves out of this hole. And then boom, nailed with tariffs. And we were, that's going to affect the entire supply chain, prices, all of that. So look, there was no silver bullet here. And I wish either of us could say it was, executive leadership came up with this incredible solution and we just fixed everything and everything went smooth. But no, I mean, the reality was it was just putting one foot in front of the other. And I think obviously this situation with China tariffs being, insane is a bit different than what we were dealing with. So I'm not trying to necessarily compare it apples to apples, but I think there's some lessons that we generally learned as everyone is sort of just having to react and figure out what to do from a management perspective that are still pretty applicable here. I think a lot of it comes down to what our friend Mike Nish, one of the partners at Kingswood, told us, which is like, stay in the pocket. Like, you start scrambling. This is advice that stuck with me ever since in every situation, was like, stay in the pocket, because once you start scrambling, it's easy to miss the man downfield that's open. Yep. And you stay poised, you stay in the pocket, and you look for the open man. And I think at the core, that's sort of what guides us. But sort of more tactically, it's putting one foot in front of the other. It's being transparent with the team. So don't try and hide. Don't try and make it sound like everything's great and there's nothing to be worried about. I think we always aspire to treat our teams like adults. And that means telling them the truth, even when things are hard. And I think you're going to be rewarded by them understanding the situation and digging in and getting behind you if you're just honest and open with them. So I think that's one.
At all our companies, we tried to build that trust with the employees. And I think we did it in a number of ways. We shared financial data week over week. Everybody knew how the company was doing at any one time. They knew where in our turnaround journey we were. And I think in this case, we were pretty honest with the challenges we faced and treating people like adults. And I think that comes from that book, Powerful, which really made an impact on me. And I know you, Patty McCord.
Yep.
It's the Netflix culture book. Great read. Treat your people like adults. And I would think that applies universally, especially now. If I were running a D2C brand, I'd want to take this head on, kind of explain the reality. And I do see some of the best brands now, from Cuts to Simple Modern, doing that more than just doing it to their own employees and doing it publicly. So I think that's to be applauded.
Totally. I respect those guys a ton, both for the businesses they built and for the transparency that they've provided. And I think it's certainly reassuring when you look to such great businesses like those and understand, I know that everybody realizes everybody's in it, but to hear that directly from some of those great founders and know that you're sort of not alone is really, really helpful.
Yeah. I think the second leadership tip is sort of comes from stoicism, and it's really accepting what you can control and what you can't. And I know you and I have run businesses through benefit of being old as we've run businesses through 3 or 4 recessions at this point. I mean, for me, it was 2000, 08, COVID, this tariff situation you brought up, which was right at the beginning of COVID or a couple of years before. And it's like now. But I think as soon as you accept your new reality, the better. Like yesterday's reality happened yesterday. Today's reality could be completely different. And yes, you didn't build the business for this point in time. Maybe your exit expectations got dashed. Maybe it's not going to be unfold like you thought it was. But maybe you have some new opportunities that come to you because of this. So I think realizing that you can't control that, accepting your current situation will really help you sort of take on the new reality.
I agree with you. I think you can, and look, it's tempting, and I can't say that I've always, I've certainly had moments where I'm like, this is just unfair. This sucks. Why are we in this situation? But the sooner you can move on and sort of, to your point, accept the current reality, the easier it becomes to focus on what that next step forward is and figuring out your path out. You only have so much mental sort of capacity and when you take your time, when you take up that mental capacity, sort of just thinking about what's fair, what's unfair, and being upset about something, it's time that you're not spending thinking about how to get yourself out of this situation. So totally agree with that. I think that sort of leads into the next tip that I guess we have, which is, it's unlikely that you're going to find one silver bullet that's going to lead you out of this. It's just going to be putting one foot in front of the other and solving one problem at a time. And it's just getting the team moving in a direction. That momentum builds on itself. So you solve one problem, on to the next. Solve another problem, on to the next. And just getting into that mentality and that mode starts to increase momentum, and all of a sudden things start improving at a more rapid pace.
Yep. And our fourth sort of leadership lesson going into this new world today is don't forget the opportunities that might come out of this, right? There may be a silver lining. Mike, the Chinese word for crisis is the same word as opportunity.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
And so I'm thinking back to the auto anything days, like it was a chance to do some things that we always wanted to do but couldn't justify because maybe the ROI wasn't clear or maybe there was some risk. But hey, if the world's going to hell in a handbasket, let's go ahead and do it. It's time. If it's, I think maybe there's some new hires we need to make, or, if it's a chance an opportunity to like top grade a couple positions or
change
go into a new market that you've always wanted to go into, roll out a B2B element to your business. I'm thinking of some of the things we did.
Yep.
Fast track some private label products. Like all these were things that we thought about and sort of put off. But in many ways, the tariffs and the recession kind of gave us license to do it. Another thing that comes to mind is a migration. You might, hey, we should really get this business over to Shopify, but we just can't take the risk right now. But hey, new reality. You gotta operate at half the OpEx. It's Shopify or die right now. So and you can come out of it stronger with a stronger team.
Exactly. It can be a forcing function, and there's a quote that I also love, which is "Don't waste a good crisis." So use as hard as it might be, use this as an opportunity to again take license to take some actions that maybe you were afraid to do before, but use this to explore new opportunities. Use it to harden your team. Show the resilient, help demonstrate the resilience of your team, come through this stronger in the end.
I love it. And I hope people don't hear this and say, yeah, easier said than done for all these things. You don't know how hard it is, because we understand how hard it is right now out there. We all depend on Chinese imports, in one way or another. So we certainly hope the problem goes away, but these leadership tips served us well in past recessions and past downturns. So hopefully they can get you thinking.
Yeah, these are all our customers. Our heart is and everything we have is in how to support, thinking about the success and outcomes for our customers, our brands, our partners, our friends. So yeah, it's more about just how to mentally try and get through this, because it's not going to be easy. We know that.